myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past. I'm dwelling on that.
Good evening and welcome to NUFC Matters. This is your pilot speaking. Welcome to a live show after the last few weeks with me, Steve Wraith, with Mitch, with Steve Hasty and Keith Patterson, where we will be taking off. Watch out for turbulence. There's guaranteed to be some takeover turbulence at some point. But enjoy the show. It's got all your usual classics, including Tweet of the Week, Troll of the Week, and of course those infamous lookalikes. But first, shall we say this is a public service announcement and it's for Protest NUFC.
Just a quick thank you to all the fans for all your support. Amanda and I are truly grateful for everything that you've done and everything you continue to do for the club, for us, and to get this takeover over the line. We really appreciate it. To the fans that are travelling down to London on the 16th, thank you so much. Every piece of effort makes a huge difference. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We are truly grateful.
Big thank you to Mehrdad and Amanda, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear something from Amanda in the next 7 days as well. But thank you for that message of support, and a big up to the lads and lasses who are behind at Protest Newcastle, which you can find on Twitter. What is it? Well, this is what it is. Yeah, levelling up. I mean, Steve Hasty are repping the T-shirts. That's what we want. We just need transparency. And of course, some of us off the show will be making a trip down to London for the peaceful demonstration at Parliament. And this time next week, it will have been done and dusted. And it's all about the top 6 clubs influencing Premier League decisions, decision-making behind closed doors, lack of proper governance and zero transparency. Football fans, and in particular Newcastle United fans at this moment in time, deserve better. So get behind it. If you can't get on the buses next week, feel free to email or tweet Oliver Dowden. His details are easily found on the internet. Or Boris Johnson. He's the Prime Minister of the country and certainly will have some part to play in making decisions if enough people contact these people and make their point known. And it's now the time to stand up and be a Newcastle United supporter. I know we've all got differences. A lot of us have got some differences which will never be healed. But it's time to pull together. Keith Patterson, Steve Hasty, Mitch, me, we've done it for years. We could write a book, 2 books, 3 books, 4 books on it. We've actually recorded some podcasts which are coming out in August to explain our involvement in some of the major things that have taken place within fans' organisations and on the outside, all affecting our club. It's great to see new people coming through. And next Friday, you won't see Steve Wraith on a microphone. You won't see Steve Hasty on a microphone. You'll see new people who've put themselves forward. We're going down to bat it because this is a generation of supporters who've had enough. They've had enough of not challenging for trophies. They've had enough of not being able to compete. They've had enough of not having any hope. And we've got to help Mike Ashley sell this club. Mike Ashley wants to sell the club. He's told you he wants to sell the club. Let's try and do our bit to help him sell the club. And one thing we've seen this week is we have one set of willing buyers. That's one set. PIF, PCP and the Reuben brothers. And we have one set of willing sellers, Mike Ashley and co. Let's get it done. Let's get behind it. Doesn't take a great deal. Stop bumping your gums on Twitter. Stop calling me names. Stop calling anybody names. Start getting behind something which is going to make a difference. That's all I'm going to say tonight on that. I'm sure the lads have got plenty to say about it. But once again, big thank you to Mehrdad for sending that to me today in support of what we are trying to do. Mitch, I'll come to you first, mate. You're sitting alongside us tonight on the show. What's your feelings about what we've seen over the last week?
I think it's quite clear. Like you say, we've got a willing seller, and there's one deal in town. That's the deal we've got to push through. That's what we need to focus on. Everything else is fluff. Everything else is nonsense. Some of the things that people may want to push on the back of this need to be left behind. We just need to be focused on keeping the pressure on the Premier League to get this deal done. What happens in the aftermath's a different thing, but we can't talk about that now. What we've got to focus on is the thing we can do right here, right now, and that's the difference that it'll make. You're right, it's great to hear other people talking. And they're now finding, when you start to organise something like this, it does become like Billy Smart Circus sometimes. People coming up with crazy ideas. I want to bring a marching band with a banner and this, that, and the other. They've got no concept about how that would actually work in reality. What I've been happy with is I was asked to express opinion, for example, on the proposed flyover with a banner, and I made my opinion clear on Twitter. And at least you've got people here who could, at the very least, read the room and understand what was going on and say, right, okay, we see this was done with good intention, but we can see that people aren't happy with it. We can see the potential folly in it. So let's step back from that and concentrate on what we should be doing.
Yep, good stuff. I mean, the plain idea, look, one thing I'll say, Steve Hasty, is that at least Protest NUFC listen to the fans, which is more than been said of some organisations and certainly the club in recent years. As soon as that idea was, rounded on by supporters, they changed their mind and they put it to one side. And what people have to realise is that these people are volunteers, they're fans, they're just people who've got themselves together, organising themselves, and, they're going to come up with some good ideas and they're going to come up with some bad ones. But, the good thing is that they've spoken to people like yourself and me and other people who have been involved in these kind of things. And ultimately, they listen to what we have to say. And they listen, more importantly, though, to what the fans had to say. So they pulled that idea. Yeah,
that's absolutely, you nailed it on the head there, Steve. They listened, they reacted, they weren't frightened to back down or to change minds or to accept that perhaps it wasn't the right time for what they wanted to do, and that's great. That is absolutely brilliant, and I think that's a credit to whoever it is that organised this and the group of them, that they're able to get together, they're able to, as you say, read the room and understand that sometimes best of intentions maybe are not explained or don't come over right. I think if there's one sort of criticism I would come, it's the manner in which people round on them. I was disappointed in that, because again, I think there's ways and means of talking to people, and the way that some people rounded on it, and then the way that certain people then took advantage of that and exploited the entire situation for their own. But that, as you say, all of those type of things are for another day. The main thing is that there's a peaceful protest that wants to look at the whole aspect of transparency. I now understand it a little bit more, Steve, and I now understand why they sent us a T-shirt and asked me to wear it, which is great. I'm quite happy to do that. I'm quite proud of the fact that they would go out of their way and send this to me. And any little bit of advice or guidance that I can give, I'm sure it has been taken on board in the right way. But more importantly, it's not you, it's not me, it's not Mitch, it's not anyone from NUST, it's not somebody from a fanzine. It's a group of fans who just decided that enough was enough and they wanted to do something, but also wanted all of those groups and all those individuals to get behind them and show a little bit of solidarity. And, well done, absolutely well done. And we should all be sitting there going, let's listen to what they've got to say. Let's hope that what they're doing is successful. And I think you had that great message that came up right at the very start shows the level of support that these people have managed to obtain within a week. Remarkable, absolutely remarkable. It also shows that they're reading the room right. They understand that this is all about the transparency, the issues with the Premier League, and the very fact that you mentioned earlier, Steve, that people have been waiting for years and years for this done, but also shows that some of these people are also sick of the last 15 months. the 15 months it's taken for the non-decision from the Premier League, who have literally fobbed off every single Newcastle fan. The 52,000 that go, the 150,000 that are out there in the city. You know, that's what I think. That's what these guys are and girls are wanting to get the message out about. That this isn't just a sale of a football club with something tagged on the end. This is something that is fundamental to the next 20, 25, 30 years of the Northeast. This could really, really shine a light on the region in terms of inward investment, in terms of jobs, and in terms of really, really putting the North back on the map without having to go cap in hand to London, as we have done for years and years and years, and been knocked back and been given pitiful sort of donations, build a factory which basically is just a cake factory when we really should be having some sort of heavy industry, that type of thing. While communities have been decimated, the rest of the country has got on and has done remarkably well, especially down in the south. And it's about time the tide was turned politically. But if we can't turn it politically, because it looks like we can't, because very few politicians in the Northeast seem to be listening or seem to be in a position where they can do anything, now is the chance for Newcastle fans to do it for themselves with the backing of people who want to help. That's what excites me. In 20 years' time, when I'm 80-odd-year-old, then, I'm hoping that for the next 20 years, I've been part of something in terms of supporting a football club that is successful, because I haven't managed it in my previous 6.
Yeah, brilliant stuff, Steve, as always. You might see that thing I've put on the screen there. That is an easy web link to follow. I've pinned it at the top of the chat on YouTube. That is Oliver Dowden's socials. That is everything in one place. He's kindly put that in one place for you all to find. I'm sure that most of you are like me and you end up texting, tweeting whilst you're watching something on TV. Maybe it's a good night to respectfully send him a few messages on there, just asking for transparency, asking for him to at least look at this case and make sure that, from our perspective, things are done correctly. Be polite, be respectful. We want this to be done properly. We don't want to appear as if we're trying to bully somebody into something. All we want to do is get the message across that we want this club sold. We want it sold to the PIF and PCP and the Rubens, and we essentially want this to happen now, before it's too late. Because at this moment, as each day goes by, we are missing out on transfers. We are missing out on a lot of potential incomings, and we can't progress as a football club, and this will set us back. Each day delays us, and that's what we don't want. I did get a bit of ping in there, so if somebody can knock their phone onto silent, because that's ringing in my ears, and after my second COVID jab, it's doing me head in. So Keith, over to you.
Great initiative by the people at the protest, and have been involved in that and helping in any ways we can. And I think the people that's going down are going down for an orderly protest to just try and persuade people to make this transparent. I was talking to some of the people who are the organisers, and they said to me that this is what it's like every day, because some of them thought it was mad, the sort of the full-on behaviour you get when you try and organise something. And it is massive to try and organise these things. And they said, "This is what it's like for you." And I said, "It's been like that for 10 months. And today I got up at 4 o'clock. I got a phone call last night at 10 to 11 off the club to talk through what protests we're doing. And I just was explaining what fans are doing and what they're trying to do and what they're trying to make happen. And the club's view is that we need to ask Boris for help rather than being abusive to him, because he's probably the only man in government at the moment. Well, we found that out when we spoke to Keir Starmer on that Zoom call, that Ian Morris admitted on that call that he couldn't help. You know what I mean? And his chances of getting anything through Parliament takes time, and time is something we haven't got, because we've probably got 2 weeks now maximum where we can protest for transparency. And what I wanted to do at night was to tell people where things are. The Premier League have tried to get the CAT, which is the anti-competition case, thrown out. And my understanding from the legal team, the club, is that's failed. So they haven't got the CAT case thrown out. The next thing they wanted to do was try and make the CAT case come private, which is not the norm, because in competition actions, you normally run them in public. And I'm told now that that's failing as well. So I think where they've appealed for an extra week, I can't be certain, so don't bombard us with Twitter texts. And you probably notice I'm on Twitter a lot less at the moment, and I'll probably be on even less going forward. But if you ask us questions, I'd rather they come on here and did it on a Friday and got them all out the way, because it's sometimes you can lose 3 or 4 hours just answering Twitter things. But as far as the CAT case goes, the delay, they've been trying to A, get it thrown out, then B, try to get it to go private. They've been granted another 7 days, which in the opinions of the legal team will mean that the CAT case will run at the end of July, early August. That's when the CAT case will start running, and it won't be private. I've been told that the feeling's strong that it won't be private. It'll be a public case, but it leaves the arbitration, which will start before then, which is critical. And the reason that we want that to be public is twofold. One is because when the club made the application last time round, if you look at Amanda's interview this week, which everybody thought was excellent, it made it clear that she made it clear to everybody that they gave all the answers they were asked, and they offered more as well. So when they were originally asked to put information forward, the feeling is that both buyers, sellers, and PIF offered more evidence than what they were asked for. And at one stage, they were told that they had enough. You know, there was an indication made that they'd had enough. If that was the case, and somebody says they've got enough, it tells you that if someone says to you, look, no, I've got enough, it means I've got enough to pass it. But you don't tell somebody that you've got enough when you're going to fail it. And they didn't fail it, but what they didn't do was pass it. And that's the key. The whole agreement to get this club sold to PIF, the Rubens and PCP was agreed last year and was all signed up and ready. And the only thing the EPL didn't do was sign it off. So the case was there. It was completed. They'd done everything asked and more and offered more. And then they didn't pass it. So I know a lot of you are frightened. You say, well, you know, the EPL's case is that the buyers walked away. No, they just sat there 17 weeks and no answers. And what the Premier League were doing was scurrying around to try and find some means of stopping this going through. It's disingenuous. And the reason they want this to become public is because if they do, it'll have two impacts. It'll show people, the general public, what the Premier League were doing a year ago and what stunk to high heaven. And you'll find, and even one of their reporters has started leaking stuff out, that the Premier League are now concerned that the ODT hasn't got sufficient in it to stop the case. So the Premier League's fear is that their ODT doesn't carry enough clauses to stop this. But more to the point, the reason the club want this to become public is because it'll stop the bench or the panel making the decision from doing anything but the obvious. And this was packaged up, ready to pass, should have been passed and wasn't. And by making it go public, the feeling right across the board from all the legal teams, everyone who's saying this will go through if the arbitration goes public. And that's this month. And that's why today, you know, people say to me, what should I do? And what I'd say is join the protest, go to London. Remember, when you go there, you represent Newcastle fans. So it's not about making a tit of yourself. It's about going down there and showing that we are intelligent fans and that we want Boris's help and that we want the help of the MPs, because this has gone on too long. And I think all of you out there would be pretty damn fed up if the takeover didn't happen and we turned around and said, well, I could have done a bit more. So what we're asking people to do now is hammer in a professional and in a sensible way, without any expletives, Oliver Dowden, go there and tell him why it should be made public, and go to Boris, and go to him in a polite way and say, why won't you help this club? And in the same way that Boris helped the Premier League defeat the ESL by calling it a cartel, I think all Newcastle fans have got the right to say to Boris, okay, Boris, it was a cartel, and we say that if you make this public, it'll stop the cartel having any influence and stopping this takeover. But Saudi Arabia are an ally of Great Britain. And if you look at the work that Saudi Arabia do just for BAE Systems, if you look at the billions that's spent on that contract, which Boris did before he was Prime Minister, you'll realise that That's the big trading ally with the UK. And if it's good enough for London, it's got to be good enough for Newcastle.
Lots of questions coming in, Keith. So let's try and get through a few of them because, I think you got your gist over in that 10-minute spell there. So, look, Billy Gaddis saying, I wrote to my MP, I had 0 responses yet. Send something to Oliver Dowden tonight, mate. Do it on social media. If we can fill his inbox on social media, I genuinely feel that's going to make some kind of difference. You'll get a reaction. You saw what happened with Tracy Crouch, to be perfectly honest, and it does certainly affect people when they're sitting at home and they're getting loads of pings on their phone. What is the chances, Keith, of arbitration going public? It says Colin Wilson.
I wish we knew the answer to that. If it went public, we get the takeover. That's what I would say, and that's the feeling from all the legal team and from the club. And the buyers, they all feel as if it goes public, we win. So that's why they say now's the time to jump up and do something, not to sit there and worry about if we don't get it. What's the chances? It's the same chances of keeping it private. It depends whether sufficient pressure is put politely and in the right places to get it. So.
Question from Nathan. What would happen if the arbitration concluded unsuccessfully for us, but then information came to light in the public cat, which might have meant the outcome would have been different? Appeals?
Yeah, there'll be appeals, but it's like asking the impossible question. If this went wrong, what would happen? I think if anything didn't go in our favour, I think the other things will. And I cannot see any way in the world that the Premier League can win the CAT case, which will start end of this month, early August. When the CAT case goes against the EPL, it's pretty much a disaster story, but it'll be so much simpler for Newcastle fans if we can win the arbitration. Hence why we want... It's the arbitration we want public, by the way. The protest is for the arbitration. Don't get it wrong. It's not for the CAT. The CAT won't go private.
Yeah, okay. Next question. If arbitration doesn't go public, are you worried it won't happen, says Jordan?
Not worried it won't happen. The arbitration will still run. But I think the panel that's judging this, they'll be under a lot more intense pressure if the arbitration is public, because they will repeat what was put through a year ago, and a year ago it should have gone through. And I mean, overwhelmingly should have gone through. And that's why we want it out. Just to repeat that again from 12 months ago, we'll get this takeover if it's goes public.
Yeah, Barry Hogan. Yes, you can. Just donate to QTech at NUFCmatters.com. You can just buy a seat, even if you're not going. But contact John at QTech. I believe you've won a couple of competitions with QTech. So just give John a shout at QTech. He will point you in the right direction as to how you can help and how you can get involved. Paul Oxley says he's looking forward to meeting everybody next week. So, Mitch, back to you, mate. Look, it's, you're on the outside looking in a different country. What's the undercurrent of feeling out there at the moment?
Well, we've had quite a few Geordies together here this week because it's a lad called Ian. Ian's 50th. That's why Stu's over. He's currently holding court down at the other end of the bar at the moment. I think it's frustrating for us. I've said to you guys, I felt a little frustrated this week because I've more than ever felt a little bit on the outside looking in. I feel like because I'm so used to being more directly involved in stuff like this, I've sort of had to sit on my hands a little bit. Look, the feeling out here is that there's not enough coverage. Why are we not getting the coverage that many other clubs would be getting certainly on things like BBC? I know Amanda did a great interview with Chris Conway at ITV this week. I thought that was fantastic. Just the kind of thing that we needed as a fan base to hear, I think. And so the question repeatedly is, why isn't there enough coverage on this? I'm trying to get the guys I know in the media out here, both in the UAE and Saudi, to try and push the coverage out here a little bit. Because I think any way we can make this more public, more aware, get more people outside of the Newcastle United bubble aware of what's going on. And that's why the lads and lasses doing the protest have got to really pick carefully the kind of things they want to do. Because at the minute, we seem to have a hell of a lot of sympathy from fans of other clubs, even fans of the cartel. And that's sympathy that we can garner into pressure. We've seen the effect that the fan bases of the cartel had in the aftermath of the ASL. That showed you what fan power really still means. And so I think that's the frustrating thing out here is it's like, well, hang on, aren't people going to be reporting this in the same way they would be reporting if it was say Man U or Liverpool, please? Oh, hang on 2 seconds. Great, thank you. Just put me happy hour order in. So why isn't there the same level of reporting seemingly that there would be for certain other clubs? That's very clear. It's like people want to just tuck it away. Let's forget about it. And that's why I think we need to be doing more direct and clever direct action to keep it on the radar, keep it out there. And that pressure then tumbles down onto the arbitration board, tumbles down into the CAP case. And as a fan base to actually feel like we have a way to contribute in a very unique way, I think is fantastic. And I come back to it again, it's actually really refreshing that it isn't one of us on a microphone.
Yeah, well, it's time for new blood, Steve. I mean, you've done your bit on a microphone, and so have I many times. But this isn't our protest. This is new people, from different walks of life who are all wanting to, to pick up the baton and actually do something. They've organised it. They're pulling it together. So yeah, it'll be nice to be there and support and see a new generation of supporters coming through and doing something.
Absolutely, it'll be fantastic. And that's why I'm looking forward to it. That's why I'm giving them my support, and that's why I'm going down. And it's interesting what Mitch said about the lack of coverage, and it kind of like sticks in my mind that is that because there is a perception out there that some of us don't want it, or some of us aren't 100% behind it, or that we're not fully engaged as a fan base. I don't know. But if that could possibly be the reason why we're not getting the coverage, then it's in our hands to change that. It's in our hands to make sure that podcasts and video casts and fanzines and whatever other means that we have of getting the messages out there, that we are really wanting the transparency of the takeover to be exposed and for the takeover to happen in a transparent media, in a transparent manner, and with the full backing of the supporters. We just want a fair hearing. And if nothing else, if you have any worries or concerns about what's going to happen in the future, just ask for that to be done in a fair way. Now, I'm very much in the camp that wants this to happen. And so naturally, my glass half full, which has been half full as it has been with Mitch and as it has been with you, Steve, for 15, 16, 18 months, if not longer. Certainly the length of time that we've been doing these podcasts and the subliminal messages that we've been trying to get out there, and the way that the limits that we've had to what we can actually say, and then the amazing positivity that Keith's managed to bring to the agenda since last August when he got on board. And maybe it's after hearing Amanda and hearing what she had to say that other fans will suddenly have picked up on the positivity that we've always had. We've always had that positivity for a reason, because we felt as though this was moving the way that it should. Last June, it stalled. We all know that it stalled. Amanda's talked about it stalling. Keith's just explained earlier on about where we were until that particular point. And that's the transparency that we're looking at. And when we say that people are going down, you mentioned earlier, Keith, you said that you're representing yourself when you go down, like as a fan. Not you personally, but fans. We're representing ourselves, representing our club. We're also representing the region. We're going down there to represent the Northeast. We're going down there to represent the city of Newcastle. We're going down to represent the young people, the old people. We're going down to represent the pensioners. We're going to represent the primary school kids. We're going to represent the city council. And we're going to show the rest of the country what we are as people, what we are as a region. We're also going down to represent the potential buyers. And that's important as well. And that's why I think when you said at the very beginning, Steve, that we're going down in a peaceful manner, that's very, very important, because we are. we've just heard that marvelous message from Mehrdad. We are representing them. We are representing the people who want to take over our football club, because we're doing something that they want to happen. And we're going down and we're supporting their action. We're supporting what they are trying to achieve. And from that respect, we're also supporting the Public Investment Fund, and we're representing, in a way, the public investment. So there's a massive weight on the shoulders of Newcastle fans who are going to be turning up there to do this right and for it to be seen to be done right. And you know what? I think this group of people who are setting this up and organising this, I think they're the sort of people who can represent us really, really well. And that's why I'm giving them the support. And if anyone wants to join, just come along, pay the £30, get on the website that they've set up, make the payment, and join the bus trip that's going down, and bring the same sort of passion that I'm talking about. Bring that on Friday with you, but bring the respect that I'm trying to get over. Bring that with you too, and show the people of London, and show the people in Parliament, and show the government ministers, and show the Prime Minister, and show the Minister in charge of Department of Media, Culture and Sport that we are decent people, and we want what's decent for our football club, and we want what's decent for our region. That's all I can say about it. There's nothing much more to be said. And I know that we're going to have the backing of the trust, and we're going to have the backing of various fanzines, and I hope the other podcasters and I hope the other bloggers can see, you know, exactly where this is heading and how positive it can be for Newcastle United. And if it works, they are going to be able to write some really, really positive things in the future about our football club. They're going to be able to have some really, really positive podcasts about performances of football teams in the future going forward. Great games that they'll be able to talk about, and wins and stuff like that. And hopefully they'll be able to have podcasts about success, and they'll be able to run live podcasts from Wembley, or, you know, in the future years from Champions League finals and all sorts. Who knows? But we're going to be doing it. They're going to be doing it with a smile on their face, not with a begrudging great big sack of coal hanging off their back, is the way that sometimes we feel when we do podcasts these days, because we feel as though it's always done through a glass half empty, or that we're carrying the weight of everything to do with this football club that's bad. We want to be carrying the weight of success. That's what we want. And we all want it. Every podcaster will want it. Every fanzine writer will want it. Every blogger out there will want it. And probably every troll, if the truth be known. And hey, if that's the way it goes, great. Let's get together. Let's make it happen. Let's support each other.
If I can jump in, Steve, I mean, it's quite remarkable when you see the reaction to messages like Mehrdad's today in Amanda's interview. I think people can now see why, even in the darkest of days, our glasses have been half full. And you see the power of a message like that to keep mobilising the fan base. And I think the other thing I find quite interesting is a year, 18 months ago, our fan base was being asked to be almost the moral arbiters of football, investment and sports washing. And now we're positioning ourselves to be the moral arbiters of the Premier League. And who could have predicted that journey would have happened like this? It's been crazy, crazy time. We need a positive resolution, and then everybody can go forward. And this push could be really significant in driving decisions the way we like them to go.
Yeah, the question on the screen, Keith, I'll give to you. If Ashley wins the CAT case, one of his claims is that the owners and directors test should be passed or revisited. What's your view on that?
Well, it's like a roundabout question, because you're asking if he wins a CAT case, but the owners and directors test will be revisited before that. So that's why I was pushing for the CAT case to run from October last year. If it had run last year, you'd have had the disclosure that would have fired holes in all of this, and that's what I was begging people to do. You've got to understand that my case was put back by the Premier League, and they threatened to sue us on 5 occasions, and I wasn't allowed to run the case because I was put behind the club. So when a QC says it'll cost you 100 grand just to argue that point of whether you should queue behind the club, but if you've got a football club trying to sell for 300 plus million, and they've got a case, which we found out from the Premier League in their letter, against the Premier League, it's hard for a single fan or two fans to turn around and say, well, we want to jump the queue, we want to get the front. And hence why we were told by our legal team that we'll have to join the queue. And then when we realised we had to join the queue, our tack was then to go to the club and trying to get them to sell them what the competition case would do. So I sat down with the club's legal team, and I was the person who explained what competition action would do, explained the competition action I'd run in the past and what disclosure would give you. But what I want to get over to fans tonight is that question there is talking about a CAT case. A CAT case will win. It won't be private. And I just cannot see a way they can win it. But before then, there's an arbitration case. And I want to try and get this over to you. What was submitted last year was enough to get the takeover. So I want to try and get the point over that people are saying the Premier League must have a strong case. The Premier League didn't have enough bullets or enough power in the ODT to turn it down. So if they just ran it legitimately and ran it fairly and squarely, it would have gone through last April. That's why Amanda's telling you, her interview was very clear. She said, we give them everything and more. So the buyers don't understand why, when they did what they did, it didn't go through. The club, when I first sat down and spoke to the club, I started this in August, and by October I was talking to the club in depth. The club was saying to me, they don't know why it didn't go through, because they were given everything. Now, the reason we want transparency, because if you give them everything again, just exactly as it was, a normal, legitimate panel will pass it, and they won't be able to not pass it. So that's why we don't even want to get as far as the CAT case. We want to win it by the arbitration before that, by just running it fairly. And if it was run in public, what I was told by legal team and club is if it's run in public this month, the public will be outraged at what didn't get passed in April last year.
Yeah, I would agree with that. It's been an interesting week, to say the least. A lot of people saying, I mean, we got that question through. You've got to appreciate, despite having these questions on slow, Friday night, they go very quickly, and I can only nip in when people stop talking and ask questions. And some of them are repetitive, some of them are questions which you've already had before. Keith, it's definitely, by power of elimination, it is your pinging somewhere in your house. It's either your phone or your computer. You might not be able to hear it because you've got your headphones in, but might be your iPhone or your phone coming across on your computer. So you might have your phone switched off, but it's coming across on your computer.
Right.
So maybe put your phone on Do Not Disturb like I do. That's a good idea.
I'll tell you what it could be. It could be if you've got WhatsApp on your computer. And if you're getting WhatsApp messages pinging through, so I've closed or exited the WhatsApp. It could be something as simple as that.
Yeah,
so,
it could be. It could be.
I love how I get the blame for everything like that.
Well, you do off the viewers. The viewers always. It was Chris Collins from the Kitchens who said it's Mitch, definitely. But you were quick to get a denial in there, so that's good. Okay, let's talk a bit of football, Mitch. We've seen a couple of contracts handed out. Malcolm MacDonald was quite scathing about this last night, as was Gibbo, about Murphy getting a 6-year deal. What is it with Newcastle and extremely long contracts?
I haven't got a clue there. I don't know what I mean, Murphy's done enough to earn a new deal. I think that's fair to say.
I agree.
I think that's absolutely fair to say. On the way he came into the team, when they went to that back five, and he was playing effectively as a right wing back, he scored some important goals. He's made some important assists, and I think he's done enough to earn a new contract. I've got no problem to have that lad now. I scored. He's black and white through and through as well. So, I think great. But 6 years does seem... I mean, I know that when they look at how they value players and how they work out sort of amortization for our players, it's different to a lot of clubs because they include the wages over a period of time as well as the transfer value and things like that. So it could be all wrapped up in this whatever business magic that he's using to do this with players. But 6 years does seem excessive. But are they tying players down to secure their value on the transfer market? Or are they tying players down while they've got an upper hand during COVID-affected times to get them on a lower wage for a longer period of time? Just don't know. Because there's so many. If you look at the situation that's developing with Barcelona at the moment this week, and salary caps and things like that, we genuinely, because again, the accounts haven't been released, so we don't know what our accountant's like at the moment, whether we're still on top of the balance league or not. But is there something tied in with that? The Gale one is all about securing his value, because I'm quite sure there's still interest from the Championship in him. And from a players and agents perspective, this is probably the last time he'll get onto a decent contract. And if we do end up selling him, we'll end up paying some of his wages for the foreseeable. But on the Murphy side, 6 years does seem to be excessive, even though he is, for me, very worthy of a new contract. There's no doubt about that. But we seem to be the outlier yet again when it comes to doing certain things.
Yeah, I mean, Steve, not only have we secured the services of Jacob Murphy on a 6-year deal, Fernandez, which I think most fans were delighted about, Dwight Gale, which I think there was a few eyebrows raised at and could fall into that category that Mitch is talking about potentially getting a transfer fee, should the takeover go through when we decide to sell him. And of course, Paul Dummett and Fabian Schär both exercised the option of extending the contracts at Newcastle United. So that's great news, I guess, as far as Dummett's concerned and Schär. But Dwight Gale, like somebody's just said, 30 years of age, Jeff, 30 years of age, getting a new contract. And ultimately, if the takeover didn't go through, he'd be sitting on the bench again, one would imagine.
Well, and bear in mind, if you don't mind us jumping in again, that's a year older than Rondon was, and they said they didn't want to sign him because he was too old.
Good point.
Excellent point. Let's take Shaw and Dummett first. I mean, those were talked about back in April, May, and basically there's an option for them to stay for another year, and that's what's been extended. It was part of that contract anyway. The Fernandez one, Fernandez contract was up. He had already had an extra year tagged to his contract. So his contract had to be a new contract. So he's getting 2 years. That's the way that football operates. That's the way it works. The club had an option to extend the other two. Fernandez had already had his extended, so he gets the option of either walking away or they have to offer him another contract, and they're giving him 2 years. Gale, that was talked about probably in April as well, and I thought he'd actually signed it already. And I think at the time, a lot of people said, that's a good deal, that. Because what they've done is they've made sure he's not leaving. They've made sure that, and it was West Brom that was talked about. They've made sure that they've got a player there of value that can be then sold on, because there will be a demand for him potentially from the clubs in the Championship. Where, let's face it, he can score with his eyes shut in a Championship, and has proved it time and time again. So there's a safety blanket there that's put in. 6 years for Murphy. Does it really matter that it's a 6-year contract? I mean, 6 years, that'll mean that he's had a contract for 10 years at Newcastle if he sees it through. That's nearly as long as Alan Shearer had. When you think about it, it's phenomenal when you just look at it in that respect. But there again, they give an 8-year contract to Pardew. He didn't see the contract through, did he? He was gone after three and a half, something like that. But with a player, I think that what we've seen with Murphy, we've seen since he came back from the loan spell at Sheffield Wednesday. We've seen that last season there is something in there. There's something about that in the player. It's just taken him an awful long time to come out of his shell. There's obviously, from his perspective, he wanted the security of staying. And I think, let's face it, if it was you or I and somebody offered you the chance to stay at Newcastle United for 6 years, and you've settled in the region and you've got a family, you jump at the chance. So it could well be that he asked for 6 years. He could have said, look, give us 6 years on the same wage. Give us 6 years and have we don't know what the detail is. And we hear these conversations time and time again about players never see their contracts through. And, you're looking at Harry Kane, he signed a 4-year contract at at Tottenham, and he's still got 3 years to go, and they're talking about getting rid of him. They're talking about, you know, him wanting to leave rather, not them wanting to get rid of. But if the right price came in, then he would go and they would accept it. Yes, they stuck silly money on it, 150 million. Obviously, I'm not comparing Harry Kane to Murphy, not by a long shot. But you know what I mean? Contracts in football mean absolutely nothing these days. And that's why I would personally, I'm not getting too hung up on whether a player's given a contract for 2, 3, 4, 6 years. Because at the end of the day, if the player's not performing and the player's got anything about him and he's desperate to play football, as most footballers should be, he'll ask for a transfer anyway, and he'll leave, and somebody else will come in for him. And if it means that he's got 3 years left on a contract, and it means that the club has a little bit of value in there that gives them a little bit of leeway in terms of negotiating a transfer fee, all well and good. That's how I look at it. Loyalty in football, loyalty from clubs to players, and vice versa. It's one of those things you could talk about forever, and you would never ever pin down the right answer or the right sort of solution, and we'd all have an opinion on it, and probably the players would as well. If we get Murphy on here and ask him, well, you know, why did you sign a 6-year contract? We might find that there's some amazing reason, or it would just be, well, that's what the offer is, so that's what I signed. You know, it's literally like that. We will never ever find out, never know.
No, I don't think you've fallen asleep, Keith, are you? Jacob Paul was asking.
Certainly not. I've been up early. I left at 4 o'clock this morning, and I got back in at 5:20, so I've had a long one. But
and Rachel, thanks for asking. I'm feeling a bit ropey today. I've got to be perfectly honest. The second jab's done us. The first jab I was fine. Second COVID jab, though, it's definitely done us. I'm not feeling myself, but we will push on. I'm here. It's alive, and we'll get through the next hour and 10 minutes. JJ asks a question, Keith. This arbitration's only about separation. I'm sure it's been proven in courts around the world.
It is about separation. That is the question. But the club is saying through the ODT, the arbitration will cover the application they put in last time. So they've got to prove separation. That's what they've got to prove. They think they can prove it, but they thought they proved it last time. That's the bit that people, it is to prove separation between PIF and Saudi Arabia, but it's nothing to do with the Prince. But they already felt that they've dealt with that in April, and they said it should have been passed in April. The reason they want it public is so that you can see exactly what they put forward last time, and they'll see that last time they were ripped off, and it should have gone through. On them players you've just said there, I think the Gale one, Holly's just said on there, she's put a comment on saying she doesn't agree with the Gale one. I think the Gale one is the easiest to accept, because if he's worth 6 or 7 million, I think both West Brom and Fulham would buy him. And for that reason, I believe that giving him a contract just secured that money. I think if we got took over it, and when we get taken over, it's going to be a 3-year project to be able to bring the level of players in you want. And when you talk about people like Murphy and them, because he's Newcastle through and through, he's black and white daft, he'd play through that period as we're building that squad up, and he'd still have value at the end. You know, you're not going to lose him for a deal. So I half understand with him because of his age. I thought he had a great year last year. But Fernandez is my favourite centre-half out of what we've got. He's the guy I'd put on the team sheet first. I think he's been outstanding. And so to tie him down is great. Dummett, always gives you a shift. And every manager we've ever had has always put Dummett on the sheet straight away. But the Gale thing, I think, is a no-brainer. I think the Gale thing is because the lad's got a £6 or £7 million value at the Championship. And I think that Gale will go in the next 12 months. And I think that was an exercise to maintain his value. So I pretty much understood them and thought they were business-wise. But bear in mind, Man City took 3 years to get players in and to be able to buy people in. I think Newcastle, when taken over, will have the same problems. It would be a slow, gradual add-on.
Life Goals wants to know if this was a pivotal week in your view, Keith.
No, because us four here knew that Amanda and Maydad were there all the time. So we didn't, I think it's pivotal for a lot of fans, because I think a lot of people really thought that they weren't there. And we've been questioned as to why we're confident. So Amanda and Maydad wouldn't be shouting what this, the confidence they're putting forward if PIF weren't there, or if the Rubens weren't there. Their consortium's waiting to buy this club. and a pivotal week for me will be when we win the arbitration. That'll be pivotal. It'll be pivotal in your lifetime, let alone anything else. It'll be the biggest thing that happens to this city and to the football club in the time we've lived with it. So with me, I expected all that happening. I think buyers and sellers are close together now, and I think it's ready to be done. And I think the nerves are starting to show, because I think we know what a great hand we had in March, April last year, and we don't want the same outcome. And making it public would stop them panel bloody going with the Premier League. You know, it needs to get over the line, and it's this month. You know, that's when it all starts to run.
I'm sure we'll come back to the politics in due course, but I know that a lot of people do get a little bit tired and bored of it, and there's plenty, obviously, to discuss. And obviously, we have our regular features, and I don't want to cram them in all at the end of the show. So we are going to go with... Tweet of the week, where we all have a look through our Twitter feeds and ping them in the WhatsApp group and have a look. And there's been some really, really good ones there. I did have one from last week, Steve Hasty, which I forgot to put on, and it was an absolute belter. But as always, I'll go through these. I'll go through these with you. And this is from somebody we all know quite well, Adam Widrington, of course, who's done quite a bit in his time with the Trust and True Faith.
Oh, Adam, brilliant. He's a good guy, Adam. He's a genuine chap. He really is, and that's fantastic, man. I love it. Kick me Neva's garden, celebrating that result too hard. Well done, Adam. Is that your left foot or your right foot? I cannot work it out. But I
guess the big question is, did it come home, Adam? Answers on a postcard. Another one, Steve, with a slight political twist.
Yes, obviously. I thought this was good. Boris Johnson, well done, England. We're all behind you. Bring it home. And David Billy Gibson says that TV stand just looks just like Harry Kane. And when you look at it, it's perfectly positioned, isn't it? Look at Boris, arms wide. You know what? I don't think Boris has ever watched a live football game in his life, but we'll not get into that. I
decided to avoid the fashion faux pas that he made by putting England top over the top of his suit.
Yes.
Unbelievable.
Our Gerard went absolutely scatty. He was straight onto it. And I knew exactly what he was going to say, and he was dead right. What did he look like that? You just don't do that type of thing, man.
Crazy. Okay, as you know, we haven't been playing spotting. I've been linked, of course, with organising this protest. Of course, I'm not. I'm just supporting it. But I thought this was quite good.
Steve, any idea who put that up, Steve?
Thanks for. I don't know what his name is, but his name is MA61PES on Twitter. So big thank you for that, mate. I'm not sure whether he flew it across or whether he's just edited that, but maybe he's paid for the plane. Big thank you for that. This could have gone into lookalikes, but it didn't.
Yes, there on Roy Hodgson. That was just. Roy, nice guy that he is, but he does have this look about him, doesn't he? When he used to stand there, and you know, like I say, smashing guy. I'm sure, great, really good manager. You know, been there, done it all around the world. But there's just something about Roy that just makes you laugh. You know, the mannerisms about him, and that was brilliant.
Yeah, brilliant. This one was doing the rounds, not so much a tweet, but I got it on Facebook and Twitter, just in case we had to go to penalties.
Hey, although, you know what? If we could go to penalty rebounds and such like that was one of the worst penalties I've seen.
I didn't think it was a good penalty at all.
No, it was a shocking penalty, wasn't it? I mean, you know what? In fact, the penalty, we'll probably talk about it later, but the penalty was so bad that he actually conned Schmeichel, didn't he? Because Schmeichel didn't think he was ever going to hit a penalty as bad as that. And that's probably why it ricocheted out of his arms, quite frankly. But we'll probably cover that later. And this was from Neil. I am Neil Marshall. He said, hope there's enough paddling pools and wheelie bins for our new players to have their recovery plunges. And there's a picture of what looks like just a tip.
Well, it looks like Benwell.
It looks like Benwell now. But no, I mean, I don't know where that is, but... you know what? It's a classic, isn't it? You know, nice
is.
landscape, nice skyscape. You know,
It is, fantastic.
Yeah,
Pedestrian.
I now use the phrase 100% agree with everything, and I caught it from Steve Wraith.
Yeah, thanks. Well, I did say 100% quite a bit in the early stages of the takeover. So
now you're just saying 97%, don't you? Because it's the 97% who want the takeover.
I think I went to 150% at one stage. I was that confident it was going to happen. But yeah, I did. Thanks for that, mate. And nice to know that I've started something.
Yes, and now there's this NUFC retweeter who's NUFC Wales, really. Piss off with this rhetoric, Steve. You are one of the worst of us for creating division. And then you've corrected his spelling.
Again, could have gone in troll of the week, but I thought my reply was better than his trolling. Well done, son.
All's fair in love and war, Steve. All's fair in love. This one came to
this is obviously before you read this one out, I'll do this because this is you. This is with a trust situation. Obviously, I've made a few videos this week. I'm going to continue to do them. I'm just trying to kick the trust off the fence. And try to get them involved in this protest. That's what I'm trying to do. And I've made my opinions quite clear. I'm not going to reiterate them on the show. You can watch the videos on my Twitter account. That's where I'll be putting anything of my own personal opinion. But yeah, Steve just said they lied and played you in August, Greg. You never took them to task talking about the Premier League. You had the opportunity to do so by working with and supporting NCSL. You chose not to as you wanted to protect your relationship with the EPL. I thought that was a great tweet from Steve. Now, the reason I've stuck that in there is because Steve and Keith, once again, have been bombarded with hate and, death threats for Keith Patterson this week. Death threats. Can you believe it? Death threats. Absolutely disgraceful. But, that was an opinion that Steve had. He put it across perfectly well. And that's what led to all the crap this week, guys and girls. So, you know what? Fair play to you, Steve. And look, we're not having a pop constantly at the trust. We've all got completely different opinions, and I think on various shows we always say sometimes we all disagree, and there's certain things we disagree about. And the trust, we've all got different opinions. But for me, they haven't been what they should have been through this whole process, and that's it. And we're going to cover it on the NUST show that we're doing in August.
Yeah, and it was my response to something that had been put out because I felt very strongly that I just don't want people to feel as though that they can either rewrite something or put something out there that's perhaps not quite possibly my understanding and everybody else's understanding, and that was how I felt. And I did get some brickbats for it. I don't apologize for it, and because, as you say, it's my opinion on where we stand. I understand that the trust are going to be coming out over the next sort of 4, 5, 6 hours, and there'll be something out there where they're going to be supporting the protest, and that's great, and welcome on board. That's what we want to hear, because as I said right at the very beginning, we want the unity, we want the fans together, and we want everybody singing from the same hymn sheet, as that horrible phrase gets used, But
Well, look, we'll be stronger together. We're never going to agree. It's quite clear a lot of us won't agree ever. That's just the way it is. But let's just try and get behind protest NUFC. It's not me. It's not Keith. It's not anybody on this screen. It's other people. Yeah. Please give them the back. Some of them are quite obvious. We've got some of them are quite obvious, but get behind them. It doesn't, it doesn't take much.
Yeah, and don't forget that was a moment in time. That was my comment on something that happened in a moment in time back in August.
Yeah, okay. Well, as I say, we are going to cover this, and people are saying, "Watch the show." It's this. Where has the money gone in the middle there? That's a picture of me on the far right-hand side. Obviously, campaigning in 1989 outside the ground. My mate Paul there burning his scarf. Graham Cansdale coming out of a coffin. NUFC Disunited is what we've called this. And this is going to be a series of programmes in August when we'll have a little bit of time off. And there's going to be a series of programmes throughout the week. So you'll get a week of me, Mitch, Steve Hasty and Keith Patterson talking you through some of the major events in our history as a fan base. Keep an eye out for that. That will be when the season kicks off. I've got a little bit of acting work which I need to take a little bit of time off for, but that will be a fascinating series. We've enjoyed recording it. It's been a little bit like therapy. And of course, NUSC and NUST are covered in one of those programs. Okay, getting back to the tweets of the week. This one from Lee Major was funny.
Yes, there he goes, Lee. When you've worked hard and saved all your life, underside to treat yourself. I know this is a show-off post, but I'm not sorry in the slightest. White was always the colour I was going to go for. Just look at those. Well, he's showing you the beautiful photograph of a white Range Rover. Just look at those 4 beautiful white chairs that he's bought, and it's the 4 in the background that he's directing it to. And that's brilliant. I've seen a few other people put out. I thought that was great. That was really, really clever. Really, really well done.
Now, there's obviously the good thing is we do get some stuff which isn't football related. This one has been doing the rounds as well.
Yes, no, this one was a classic, and you know,
brilliant.
I don't suppose anyone has any board games that they are no longer using that can deliver to the nuke, as I have 6-year-old self-isolating. Ad is claiming the walls, lol. Thank you in advance. And somebody called Ross immediately replied, I don't trouble is any use to you.
I've got to be. I do love some of these messages. If you're not on a community message board in your area on Facebook, Facebook's a pain in the backside at times. But get into your local community one and start. It's we don't knock on each other's doors, these days as much as probably we used to. But if you go on there, the community message boards, there's some absolute belting stuff where honestly I laugh out loud sometimes. I tend to do it before I go to bed to de-stress. I've got to be honest.
Our street has a community WhatsApp group that my wife's in, and I did know that there was about 45 WhatsApp messages about what somebody should do with the 5 pints of milk that they've ordered, and then realised they were going on holiday, which I thought was fascinating. It's amazing that can you freeze them? Are they organic? Can I have 1 pint? Is it suitable for people under 5? And so it went on and on and on. So they really are. They're quite amusing. It's just part of life, isn't it? It's just part of life. People are wanting to talk, but we can't go out in the street and you can't talk, or we haven't been able to for a while. So,
Steve, if you talk to your Becca about the community groups over here, if you want to disappear down a wormhole of expat mentalism, you should see some of the bloody community groups out here. Yeah,
exactly. This one, Steve, you pop it about it. This one was one Stephen Winterton, and I think some of us of a certain age will understand this is amazing. There's the Switzerland score, Switzerland 0, Spain 1, goal by Alba, assisted by Corky. And then he's got hot dog, jumping frog. And I think those of us who know music will know what he's talking about. And it's a certain song where the line finishes with Alba Kirky. And I thought, fantastic. Prefab Sprout, if I remember rightly.
That's correct.
Yes. Smashing band from the Northeast as well. A band that I thoroughly enjoyed going to see over in past bygone days. Really, really interesting band.
Okay, tweet of the week is somebody who we know and love very dearly, and we'll be seeing him hopefully if he's fitting well at the Irish Centre on Sunday for the game. Tweet of the week is Bill Corcoran.
Oh, yes. No, this was the Chronicle. You can see the headline, Lorem ipsum dollar seat amen consecutor ad piscis elite. And Bill's just replied, God help us, the Romans are back.
Well done, Bill. Get well soon. I hope you're fit enough for Sunday, mate. And that is your tweet of the week. All right, Mitch, we're going to come to you now first on something which I know is a speciality of yours, and that is strips. And we have seen the unveiling of the new Castoria strip today. We are led to believe this is going to be Newcastle United's new shirt. What's your thoughts?
Yeah, well, it's black and white stripes. That's a good start.
Yeah.
The minutiae of it, it's interesting to see how many people have different opinions on, I love this, but I don't love that. Is the badge embroidered or is it not? I don't like the sponsor. Is that the home shirt and away shirt? Is that the home shirt and the goalkeeper shirt? Can we not have thicker stripes or thinner stripes? Or can we not have 5 stripes? And where's the badge and where isn't the badge? The arguments go on and on and on and on and on. The one thing I would say with this getting involved with Castoria, they are all in with us. They want us to be their premium shirt. They want us to be their top end. So what we're going to get from now on under this deal are bespoke shirts. And they're going to get some right and they're going to get some wrong. But one thing's for sure, they're committed to this and they're committed to making us their premier brand. I mean, perhaps that's with takeover in mind, who knows? But certainly they're committed to it. I've spoken to some of the Rangers lads out here who they've talked about the pros and the cons, the little hiccups they had early on with quality. What I understand is they do 2 types. They do an exact player's shirt that you can buy at one price, and then a lower priced shirt aimed at the fans, which is a slightly different cut, looser fit for those of us who are a little bit more on the rotund side. That kind of thing. Again, you see, Michael's coming out with the socks black. People get obsessed with the socks, you know, and I think we just have to. What happens every time is that eventually some of these kits grow on people. You know, if you go back through time, there are some kits like the 2-tone yellow striped away kit when we're in the championship with Houghton, and that's now sort of a proper sort of almost a cult classic. And we've all got our own individual shirts because either it reminds you of a time when we did really well, or it's connected with your childhood. You know, I still love the old Butler shirts because that was the
They
first
were itchy.
Oh, they were very itchy, mind. Oh, God, aye. Yeah. And proper cheese graters on your nips and everything like that. Oh, horrible. But the whole, God, I took my shirt off once. It was like the Turin shroud. You know, you look at how it grows, and these things grow on people, and we get used to it. You know, we've had it with Adidas, we've had it with Puma. There's too much black on that kit. There's too much white on that kit. You know, at the end of the day, as long as it's black and white stripes, and it's, I think people appreciate the one thing we need. I think we deserve is quality. The last deal with Puma was hurriedly put together because the time was running out. It was inevitable we were going to end up with a 3rd-tier template, and that's exactly what we got. And that's exactly what you get with a 3rd-tier template. You get a 3rd-tier shirt. These guys are committed to creating a brand that they see as a potential brand leader. And the partnership's exciting, and they've taken over the club shop, and they want to do more. They want to do more in terms of other sort of teamwear that you can buy. And so I think let's ride with it. I'll be interested to see what the away shirt's like and the 3rd shirt's like. That certainly matches the leak that the Chronicle had earlier. It's not a million miles away from the mock-up that they put together. So it's not really a big surprise.
Flapjack just wants to know, have you actually tried cheese graters on your nips, Mitch?
What, do you think I'm some kind of sicko? Good God.
Just how you got the comparison, I think that's what he was getting at.
Right. You can imagine, obviously. Jesus. Why does it always go down these avenues with me? Jesus Christ, man.
Moving on to Steve, your views on that strip then.
You know what matters about the strip? It's what the players who are wearing it do. And if the players who are wearing it put the performances in, that shirt will fly off the shelves. Whether it's the purple one or whatever colour it is for us colourblind people, or whether it's the black and white one, if we perform, the players perform in that top, it will fly off the shelves. That's the one thing you can guarantee. I remember the Mickey Quinn barcode one with the narrow stripes and the wide stripes, and people slagged it off something rotten. Now, I tell you what, if you've got one, you would make an absolute fortune because people would snap your fingers off for it to get a hold of one, especially one that's got the advertising on the front of it. Mine doesn't. Mine's blank. Mine doesn't have the advertising on the front for some reason. But what I'm getting at is the most important thing you should worry about is what's happening on the football pitch. I remember there's away shirts that when they first came out, people went, that's shocking. But because we had 3 or 4 wins off the belt of playing away from home, people went, I love that shirt now. They all want to be associated with it. And then when we wore the 3rd shirt for a particular away game, why aren't they wearing the yellow? Why aren't they wearing the green? Why aren't they wearing the maroon? All that type of thing. It's hey, calm your chickens, as some people would say. Don't worry about it. You know, we're not the fashion police. I saw somebody complain and tweeted, maybe it's because you've got to, I don't know whether it was today, you had to say something negative about it. And I saw somebody saying, if only the little collar bit or the little V coming down the bit on the black was also in black, then it would look better. Then I saw somebody, no, it's I don't like this, or no, there's something around here that's not right, or it's not quite wide enough, or it's too wide, or it should always be white in the middle and then black, as opposed to black in the middle and white. And it was just like, oh man, calm down. You know, it's just a piece of material. It's what happens from the people who are wearing it on the day, the performances they put in. And I tell you what, like I say, it will fly off the shelf if the players are performing, because you'll all want to be wearing it, because you'll all want to be part of the success. That's the way you should look at it. If you look at Barcelona, dear me, if there's ever a club that has managed to turn 2 colours into so many concertina styles over the years without any complaint, it's Barcelona. We've seen stripes, we've seen zigzags, we've seen checks, we've seen half and half, we've seen diagonal. You name it, they have put together. And you know what? The shirts still fly. The shirts still fly. And I never ever hear from Barcelona fans that the shirt is rubbish, or you know that this is much worse than this. They wear them with pride. It's black and white. That's what it's all about. Support your club. You know, next year it'll be a different shirt. Don't worry about it. Calm down. That's the way I look at it. There's far more important things to worry about concerning Newcastle United at the moment than what the actual shirt looks like. That's my outlook on it.
Lots of messages going to Oliver Dowden. Keep it going. I've pinned that at the top of the chat tonight with all his socials on. Everything's on there. Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, whatever. Compile.social/Oliver Dowden. Just drop him a polite message telling him that we want transparency. We want this takeover to go through. That is the best thing to do tonight. Keith, last but by no means least on the strip, what's your take on the pictures that have come out today?
I mean, the 2 lads have come up with some really good crack there, but I think if we get the takeover in a shit shirt, we'll all be happy magpies. and I think that's the key to what Steve Hasey's saying, and saying it quite well. But I still think the fans have got a good point, is because let's suppose the football on the pitch is brilliant, but the pies are shite. Like, then we need to get a better baker to bake us nice pies. And if the beer's off, you know, it still doesn't change that the football on the pitch is great. So I think the fans have got some valid points. And there was a guy called Tim C, whose comment was up there. And I'm reading like what people are saying. And I think he's got a point. You know, when the Castori deal came through, we expected something. And Mitch has articulated well. He said, Castori, you're going to say this is a premium brand. And I'm going to say to you, just straight as a die, you know, I just say it as it is. I hope that our legal team are in better shape than that purple shirt, because I think it looks about as appealing to me to buy as that mustard one did. You know, I never bought that mustard shirt when it came out. I thought it was awful. And when I see that shirt there, it looks washed out. And I just expected better. It's not my favourite black and white shirt. It's certainly not my favourite away shirt. And, you know, I've always told you what my favourite away shirt is the burgundy and maroon hoops. But I think there's, out of some of the designs I've seen fans do their own designs. And I've seen white shirts and I've seen dark blue shirts, and I just look at it. I think that purple shirt, like, I wouldn't buy it, and the black and white doesn't get us buzzing. So yeah, you're right, Steve Hasty. In a year's time, it will be changed. But you know, if the pies were shit, get a better baker. If the shirts is shit, let's get a better shirt designer. And I think they're crap.
We'll have a green one by this time next year to celebrate PIF taking over.
I agree.
Think positive. Big shout out to the sponsor, Spider VPN. Google Spider VPN to come up at the top of your Google search. For all your internet security, they can protect your passwords, whatever's on your computer. Give the lads a shout. Great sponsors, been with us for a few months now and continuing their sponsorship. Big shout out to the lads. And to skipsandbins.com, who've been with us the last few months as well. Telephone 0800 25 45 25 3. Email inquiries at skipsandbins.com. Website www.skipsandbins.com. Easy, contract free and pay as you go waste collection. Also a big shout out to John from QTech, who is in the chat. qtechshop.co.uk, the makers of pool tables and snooker tables in Wallsend and Newcastle. Get in touch with them as well on our website, nufcmatters.com, where they sell a wide range of t-shirts, and they're also, of course, selling the tickets on there to help protest NUFC out with the protest buses going down to London next week. And don't forget, if you're a first-time visitor to the channel, we've had 150 new subscribers this week. Please subscribe if you haven't. You simply hit the Newcastle Legends logo in the bottom right-hand corner and you can subscribe for free. You don't get any annoying emails or anything. Simply subscribe. And if you want to set a reminder for a show, then you will get something to tell you that the show's coming on, so you don't miss your favourite shows. Hit the thumbs up to like, which is a big help to us. Hit the share button, share it to your social media, and drop into the comments to speak to like-minded Newcastle United fans. We're also on your podcast providers such as iTunes and Spotify. So if you're out for a walk, you can listen to the show if you miss it live on YouTube. And as always, we are promoting the food bank. Come On England is the bucket that we have at the moment. NUFC fans, foodbank.co.uk. You can make a donation, whatever you want, into that virtual bucket, and it helps the food bank during the pre-season. And of course, you go into the raffle for the watch, and time is ticking for this prize. It is a watch which is beautifully presented, and it is a one-off. And the draw for that takes place at the NUFC Matters 24-hour charity pool night that John from QTech is arranging Friday the 6th of August. And it is raising funds for the food bank. A lot of us will be there throughout the 24 hours. Looking forward to that one. And we are doing something on Sunday. We thought we'd mark the occasion of England getting to the Euro final with an NUFC Matters get-together. It's completely free. It's at the Irish Centre in Newcastle. And if anybody wants to join some of the NUFC Matters crew and other England fans, we will be in the concert room watching from 4 o'clock. The bar is open. And then at 5 o'clock, we will be putting on the 1966 World Cup final in its entirety. You'll be able to watch Bobby Moore, Jeff Hurst and Alf Ramsey, and of course the Charlton brothers take us to glory in the World Cup. And then straight after that, we will be tuned in and focused to see whether Gareth Southgate and the boys can do the job. So looking forward to that. If you want to come down, you don't need to email us. Just get yourself down. Obviously, you'll need to have a little bit of social distancing. As always, you'll be on a table. It will be table service. Obviously, COVID restrictions are still in place. But get down as quickly as you can to get your seat at the Tyneside Irish Centre, which is on St Andrew Street in Newcastle. We will have a raffle on the day, no doubt, for the food bank. But really, this isn't about making money. It's about a chance of you guys getting down to meet us and having a chat and watching the match and enjoying our first major final as a nation since 1966. So thoroughly looking forward to that. Looking forward to seeing some of the guys get down there. Don't forget as well, our T-shirt for the food bank. The Malcolm McDonald one is currently at £100 on my Twitter. So you've got about half an hour to bid on that. At the moment, Billy Big Boy, Devil Dog on Twitter, has got a £100 bid. He's already been in touch with Steve Hasty to say that even if he doesn't win, he will donate the £100 to the food bank. So thanks very much for that. But if anybody wants to outbid him, anyone's really keen on getting that Supermac T-shirt and donating some money to the food bank, then please do. And don't forget to give Protest NUFC a follow. Friday the 16th of July, 1 p.m, meeting at Parliament Square. Coaches from St James's Park, leaving at 5 o'clock. Tickets are on nufcmatters.com. But give the guys a follow at Protest NUFC on Twitter. See what the guys are up to and what they are doing. And Looking forward to that. It'll be interesting. It's going to be a long day, but we're doing it for the right reasons. And like we keep saying, it's a peaceful protest. We just want to do things properly. A couple of happy birthdays, in fact, a hat trick of happy birthdays today. And we do this occasionally when players who've done something at the club spring up. Happy birthday to Zico, Mick Martin, celebrating today. Also, a big happy birthday to DeAndre Yedlin, and happy birthday to Sebastian Bassong. 3 celebrations today. Did feel a little bit sorry for Steve Howie, who, if you follow Steve on Twitter, you'll know that he's doing a lot of walking at the minute, getting ready for his big walk for charity. Spenny Mag actually joined him this week, but I did feel a little bit sorry for him when he appeared on Sky and he was called John Beresford. I'm not sure whether Steve saw that, but yeah, I'm sure he did on Twitter afterwards. And then now there's been a load of comparisons to Steve Howie and various other people, which has made me laugh. Which takes me nicely, and what a segue that was, by the way, lads, for our favourite segment, I guess, of the week, and it is... Wow, dear me, how these are getting more mental as each week goes by. We're going to try and fly through them. So we will start with this one, which is from Damien Didier Kelly Smith. He says, Steve Hasty is awesome. He says, I feel sorry for the bloke, but he takes everything in good humour. I wanted to compare him with Mrs. Doubtfire, but since he gets a lot of bad press, I'll give him a boost and compare him with John Bon Jovi.
Classic. That photograph was actually taken in St James's Park a day after the promotion championship winning game. Bill and I went to drop some money off that had been to collect some money that had been a check that had been donated from the people at the football club, the great people who work there, who wanted to make a donation from the staff. So we went along afterwards, and I went with Lee Marshall. I was with Bill. I was with my wife, and got that photograph taken on the side of St James's Park. So it's a few years ago now. Changed a little bit, but
it's all the stress. It's all the stress in this takeover.
And Mrs. Doubtfire.
Yeah, you've had that one before. Okay, this one was again from Damien. He said, I look like Steve Austin. Yeah, we've had that one before, mate, but I did have to show that just to show that he wasn't just picking on you, Steve. Okay, we got a couple of suggestions of this one. That one from Tim Cairns.
Are these just for the delectation of Keith Patterson? I think that's what it is, because every time there's a photograph comes up of me, Keith just bursts into fits of laughter. I think he's just got mates down in Ferry Hill and that.
They said that was you celebrating after the semi-final win.
I tell you what, well, I did celebrate like everybody else. So you know what? I'll take that one. I'll take it. Fair enough.
Okay, I like this one from Ugly Camel.
I think he's... Keith, Ugly Camel lives in Heaton, by the way, just to get your own back on you.
Very good. Very, very lifelike. He's even got the smile. And he also sent us this one.
You know what? Poor pie.
All right. We've got this one from Jacob, who's been online tonight. Thanks, mate. You've made it on. Tim Healy and Keith Patterson. That's not a bad comparison, isn't it? Dennis? Dennis. And Reece James and Joe Linton. Yeah, I can see that. Just needs the white, needs the blonde hair.
Just fine.
Total Recall is one of my favourite films, and this one was sent in by David Billy Gibson as well. Said that looks a bit like Keith. That's when Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Arnold Schwarzenegger film. That's whenever you get a phone call from the club, I think. And then we went down this road with Albert, and now you know what's coming, because Albert likes to mess around with these apps. So we've got this one. This is just the first of Albert. Bruce Willis and Keith. Not a bad comparison.
I know what's coming here.
We'll build up. Stu Flyboy said Rio Ferdinand and Touche Turtle. Then we had this from Lily. Good evening. She says, me and Renette think Sweden's Christopher Ollison looks like Josh Dillon, who plays young Bill in Mamma Mia. Here we go again. Not related, but hey. So there we go. Okay, well then we've got a selection of these from PG. Jean-Luc Picard, Star Trek fans will know. Mitch is Benny Hill. That's not the only one we received in Mitch is Benny Hill. I've got to be honest this week. Some people love that one. Curly Watts at the top there, and then you've got me as Ming the Merciless. So yeah, I've had that one a few times as well. And then he didn't leave Steve out.
See what I mean?
Kenny Everett one is an absolute belter.
At the bottom.
Is that Gary Lineker and the Karate Kid? I think that's quite good. Okay, another one of Steve Hasty.
You see what I mean? Hey, I bet you Albert lives right next door to the
Michael Barlow sent these. Yeah, I can see that. That's a pretty good one. Ed Sheeran and Stormzy at the bottom. De Bruyne, isn't it? And not sure who the other guy is, but yeah, I can see that. Stormzy, yeah. Stormzy and Ed Sheeran. Here's a look-alike for you. That's pretty good as well.
Yeah.
Facial expressions. Now, I thought this was Spenny.
That's good.
I thought this was Spenny until then I looked on it, and it's actually somebody saying that's Keith Patterson playing the part of Drax the Destroyer. But that looks like Spenny on his wall.
It looks like Spenny. I'm not that fat.
Yeah. And there we go. Doctor Strange. That is me. That's who he reckons I can play. Mitch. You've got a bit of muscle there, Mitch. And Steve Hasty, looking rather rugged there, which is pretty good. Thought it was time he was seen in a better light, he says. We're getting the sympathy vote. Steve, certainly getting the sympathy vote. This one was sent early on, saying Mr. Wraith fronting James in 91. Of course, I did have hair, a little bit of hair, but not that much. But yeah, I get the facial expression. And then we had this one. Footballers who look like actors. I thought that was pretty good. What's she called now? She was in.
She used to be in Casualty, though, didn't she? Yeah,
she did. Yeah, but yeah, that's pretty good, pretty accurate. I like that one. Okay, we've got this one. Fab Four movie star lookalikes. Again, this is from Albert. Busy week this week. He says he knows that I like the Godfather stuff, so he's got me as Marlon Brando. He has Mitch as Gollum. Keith Patterson as Ron Weasley. And Steve Hasty as Spear Ray. Very good, that. Very good. If we could coin your laugh. Okay, so that's that one. Then we had last one from Albert, I promise. Albert then went down the royal family route. He was clearly at a loose end last weekend while he was sending us these. These were brilliant, Albert. I really did enjoy these ones. So there's Mitch as Prince Philip.
Steve, I tell you what's scary is I look like my granddad in that photo.
Wow, well, there we go. So
that's bloody scary.
It is.
And then we've got me as Prince Charles, which was pretty good. It's got a smile and everything.
Patterson's going to have a heart attack in a minute.
Keith Patterson, Lady Diana.
Oh, class.
Last but by no means least, who's it going to be, Steve?
I wonder. Let's just
Princess Anne.
Steve, you never suited a hairstyle as much as that. That is an absolute belter. Okay, we're nearly at the end of these. Honestly, they do take up most of the show. I've got to be perfectly honest. And as we know, most of them are of Steve Hasty.
If he has a heart attack tonight, you know what? I'll just say tough.
Now we've got a top three. So this is the top. This is the top three. So from Robbo. Hasty's future, ain't impressed with his past. So I thought that was pretty good. I'm pretty sure I've had that one before, but I chucked it in anyway. This is in second place. Steve Howie and the Mask, because obviously the lighting at Paddy Park on Steve was green. And the winner is Keith Gray. Well done, Keith. He's got Steve Hasty as Keith Chegwin tonight.
I thought Steve Gray was a mate.
Well, yeah. I think you find out who your mates are when we do this segment of the programme.
Keith Gray is my mate.
At least you're not in dress, Steve.
Well,
at least you're not in drag. I've got to intervene here, mate. As long as I've known Mr. Hasty, I can put my hand on my heart and say I've never seen him in a dress.
Yeah.
The last 4 weeks in particular has been quite a revelation.
I think Albert's Queen, the one with the Queen one was the best. Like,
It was. Well, that rounds up tonight's tune. Look, like you keep them coming in. I've already seen a couple which were too late for tonight, inboxes and a couple of things coming over. Send them to me, send them to Keith, send them to Mitch. Don't bother sending them to Steve because we tend to have a lap at his expense in this segment.
Brilliant.
So they were brilliant. Now tonight, obviously, I had invited Joe Walker on as a live, but he sent us a video, so I'm just gonna play it. Hold on. Hold on. Bear with us, folks. Here he is.
Hey,
He's live.
how you doing?
Oh, Joe. Here's your intro. Here's your intro music. Welcome, Joe, and apologies from me. The Toon Tipster has been on the sidelines for the first 3 weeks of his NUFC Matters career, but you've done a great job. Just want to thank you on behalf of me and everybody at the show for coming on. You've been a great sport. Some great banter on Twitter as well. Great to have you on live, and apologies, but next week, because we're all going to London, we'll be back to doing a pre-record on Thursday.
He's the Michael Chopper of Toon Matters, isn't he? You know.
Joe, can you be kind tonight, Joe? Just be kind.
I'll try. Listen, listen. Look, I've brought a touch of class to the show.
Exactly.
I don't know whether it goes with this cheap, crappy T-shirt, like with this god awful bloody logo on, but I just thought, being an outstanding pillar of the community, I'd smarten the show up a bit. Interestingly, on that, I'm doing my bit next Friday for Help the Aged. I've agreed to escort a pensioner down to London on a coach trip. Some fella called Keith. He doesn't get out much. Apparently, he's prone to wandering off on his own and causing trouble. I'm a bit worried about him. Anyway, I'll make sure he gets to the toilet and all that. Don't worry.
Oh, God.
While I'm down there, though, I'm thinking of popping to Parliament. I don't get to London very often. There's a cause I'm really, really, really passionate about. Something that's been doing my head in for ages. For a fortnight now, Middlesbrough Council haven't emptied my wheelie bin, and I'm fuming about it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go down there and I'm going to tell Boris that Middlesbrough Council is the second worst rubbish removal company in England. I won't do the joke skips and bins. I can't. So while we're there, though, I hope that I don't bump into a load of idiots at Parliament Square. You always get them down there, don't you? Protesting about some nonsense that never comes to fruition. Anyway, I thought I'd come on and talk to you about Sunday night. Something monumental's happening. A television extravaganza that you can't miss. I hope you all agree that Love Island's a fantastic show and it's going to be absolutely class on Sunday. Apparently, on the other side, there's an England match on. Must be a friendly or something. If you fancy having a bet on it, I've got some prices for you. I tried to ask you lads a serious question earlier. What do you think? What do you think the scores will be? And 3 of yous gave me a really, really sensible answer. Old Keith, I think he's going a bit, he made some nonsense up that I couldn't even get a price for, to be honest. Anyway, if you fancy a price for the 90 minutes, England are the slight favourites to win the trophy at 13-8. Italy are 2-1. And if you fancy the draw after 90 minutes, that's also 2-1. I think the game's going to be tight, so it might not be too far away from there. To lift the trophy by any means, either extra time or penalty kicks, you can get 4-5 for England and Italy at evens. If you fancy Italy to win in extra time, it's 11-1. And if you fancy England to win in extra time, it's 10-1. And if the absolute unthinkable happens and it goes to penalties and I miss the end of Love Island, I'll be fuming. But if you fancy that, you can get 17-2 for either team to win on penalties. England 1-0, 6-1. England 2-0, 11-1. Italy 1-0, 7-1. And Italy 2-0, 14-1. If you fancy both teams to score, you can get just over evens, which might not be a bad shout. Harry Kane is favourite to score at any time in the match. He's 8-5. And Ciro Immobile, who is the danger man, is 11-5. In terms of top scorer for the tournament, Harry Kane needs one more to join Schick. I did it live there, Steve Hasty. I nearly said it. Schick and Cristiano Ronaldo on 5. So if you fancy Kane, you can get 10-3 for him to be top scorer in the competition. I promised one of our viewers that I'd get him a price for Harry Kane to score in an England 3-1 win, and that's 75-1. In terms of your predictions, I've got 10-1 for you, Steve Wraith, at 1-0. I've got 11-1 for Steve Hasty at 2-1. I've got 10-1 Mr. Mitchell for England to win in extra time. Mr. Patterson, 6-2. What planet are you on?
No. What my bet is England's 1-1 after 90 minutes. They don't score in extra time and they win 6-5 on penalties. I want odds. If you call yourself a bookie, sort it out.
That's not what you said. That's not what you said at all. Communication with you is a big problem. Don't make me get the solicitors in. I'm telling you.
Which skill did you used to win at?
They've knocked it down. And for the food bank, Mr. Hasty, I was over the moon when Harry Maguire scored. It was great to put that money into the food bank. And do you know what? I'm going to do it again because for Maguire to score, we can get 16-1. And I think that's worth a shout. So that bet's on for the food bank. Anyway, that's all I've got, lads. Did you
get my prediction? My daft prediction.
Oh, of course I did, Steve, yeah.
Right, because my other prediction, obviously a sentimental one. I'm going to take 1-0 in extra time as my serious bet. But me heart's going to go with 4-2 and Harry Kane to get a hat-trick.
So, 4-2, Steve, is 100-1.
Yes.
And if you fancy 4-2 with a Harry Kane hat-trick, you've got 180-1.
Right, I'm going to put that on for the food bank. So if that comes in, I'll give it to the food bank. But
more chance of that than this nonsense Patterson's talking about.
By the way, we've had a couple of lookalikes just suggested. James Douglas says, I think Joe's lookalike, he's a dead ringer for Believe in Bruce. That's the body language expert. If you Google him.
I look more like Steve Bruce.
Definitely. Well, I can see the likeness, not between Steve Bruce and you, but I can hear that. And somebody else suggested the actor Mark Benton.
Aye, he's a Borough lad.
Yeah, I bet you wish you were a penny behind him. And Paul Gibson says you're the new John McCririck.
It looks like him.
I'll take that.
Good. Well, listen, Joe, you're more than welcome to stay for the last 20 minutes unless you've got something less important to do.
No, Love Island's not on until 9, Steve. Don't worry.
Good stuff. Yeah, you're right, Paul Gibson. Give you now to 180-1. It should be 4 million to 1. Yeah, they got stung by Leicester. Remember the bookies. That's why they've never recovered from that. But great stuff. Let's look ahead to the England game, then, Mitch. Is it coming home? Is a question I asked this afternoon in my pre-record with this guy, Pat Nevin. Quite a great interview to do, really, because he was involved in a couple of big games against Newcastle. 4-0, of course, in the 83-84 promotion season, where he ran us ragged. And then he did it again in 88, when Newcastle went to Goodison Park and had 4 stuck past them by Everton, and Tony Cottee got a hat-trick. But I've interviewed him. That's going up tomorrow. We talk about all kinds of things. Fantastic interview. Went over the hour with Pat as well, but thoroughly enjoyable. But yeah, I mean, he thinks it's coming home, and he's a Scotsman. He says it'll be tight. What do you think?
Makes a difference to some of the bitter buggers over here, I'll tell you that. Do you know what it is? I'll ask a serious question. Have England ever actually got out of third gear at any time during this tournament? And I don't think they have. I think there's more to come from those players. And I don't think they've been pushed hard enough. They've done enough to put stuff away. They got out of the group. I was talking today to Andy, who's back over from the Philippines. And does history look at England 1966 group games? Does anybody even talk about them? No, they bloody don't. You've just got to do what it takes to get out the group. Then you beat who's in front of you. And that's what we've done all the way along. I don't think we've looked spectacular at times. We've not had to. we've genuinely not had to. Even against Germany, did we really get out of third gear at any moment? And I don't think so. And with what potentially he can put on from the bench, if we do need to go through the gears, we could be in. It's either going to be a real turgid affair or it's going to be something special. And I'll take the something special, and I'll take us winning an extra time every day.
Okay, I would say, I think it's going to go extra time 1-0, 100%. I think it's going to be a tight game, but I think you're right. I don't think we have got out of third gear. We've been very, 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 very careful at times, very defensive. But Keith, that game the other night, to see him bring Grealish on, then take him back off, and Grealish, not complain about it, and tighten up, going to the corners, keeping the ball, lots of short passing, quick passing move. I think it's been a tactical competition by England, and they've got it right so far. They just need one last push, Keith.
I think that it was a brave decision by Southgate when he did that, because there's not many people that put someone like that on when everyone's screaming for him to come on, and he does give us something different. And to take him off and to close the game down, if they had scored, you'd have wanted them back on. So I thought it was a brave decision. Watched the game of the night. Didn't think Phillips, the Leeds lad, did great, but I thought Sakho, people were going to. I thought he had a cracking game. People were saying, well, so I thought he was really good. Sterling, people talking about not putting him. He's first bloke on the sheet for me, because I honestly think they can't mark him. I think he's got that something special. I don't think we need this tongue tips done anymore. I think he's better on the records than these live sessions. He works his ticket, and he's got a funny accent. So for me, I think Steve Hasty's proved to be the top tipster, because he's picked Italy out from the very, very start. So hats off to you, son, because you picked them out and you stuck by them. What I will say to you, Steve, is and I'm sure tongue tips still back is 2 weeks ago, I thought, geez, if we get Italy in the final, we'll get battered. But after the Spain game, I was wanting Italy to win, because I think Spain would have been harder. I think Spain, if it had been 4-1 Spain-Italy, I don't think people would have complained. So for me, I saw the Italians tire, and I think Mitch is right. I don't think that we've absolutely gone at people like we can. You've got to remember there was a 3-minute period in that game of the night, from about 23 minutes to about 26 minutes, where Denmark were desperate to get the ball, yet we strung nearly 70 passes together. Nobody mentions that, but it was outstanding the way England kept the ball for that period of time. So for me, I think youth and I think strength of England at Wembley is going to do it, and I think it'll be 1-1 at 90 minutes, and I'm fancying Sterling for it. I think extra time will be as tight as a duck's backside, and I don't think there'll be any goals, and I think England will win 6-5 on penalties.
Okay. Joe, over to you.
Steve, can you send me a copy of the anti-bullying policy for NUFC? Keith Patterson talking about funny accents. I tend to agree with Mitch, Steve. I think, I don't think England have got out of third gear, Mitch, if I'm being brutally honest. I think the couple of times we have, particularly in the last game when we get round the back, to quote John Barnes, I think we've looked absolutely lethal. I think you're right. We can't mark Sterling. I think Saka has been fantastic. And then to think about people like Grealish and Sancho, I don't think we've actually ever had a squad like this before. The young lads, they've got now to lose. Phil Foden sat there if we need him. Yeah. Why not? Why not go for it? So my head's doing two things. I'm trying not to get carried away and think, we'll stuff them 3-0. Yeah. But actually, I do think it'll be tight, but I do think we'll win. And I'm not entirely sure we'll need extra time. I think England will win 2-0.
Fantastic. Bold, confident prediction from the Toon Tipster. Steve Hasty.
Pre-record next week, so if I'm wrong, it doesn't matter, does it?
Well, we'll be talking about the prediction for Harrogate Town, so it'll be slightly different.
I hear what you're saying about not getting out of third gear. If I have a criticism, I don't think this team can get out of third gear. I think there's an inbuilt fear about getting out of third gear. I was one of those people on Wednesday night when we strung those 70 passes together that was just going, and then maybe it's because I'm a Newcastle fan, maybe it's just because I'm even with 2 minutes to go, you panic. But I was just going, attack, get the other end. Stop playing the ball around. Stop it, man. Get the ball in the box. Get the third goal. Because I could not relax until that third goal went in. And even watching the clock going down, I was panicking. I'm not kidding you. I just was like, what are you doing? Why have you played the ball back? Why did you go in the corner? This was going through me constantly for that last 5 minutes or so. But I honestly don't think that this team can get out of third gear. I think there's a reluctance because there's a fear, and I think they've got the ability. Don't get us wrong. I think they've got the ability. The Italians, however, and I'm not. You're right. Keith is absolutely spot on what he said about the Spain game, because they didn't. They came against it. They came up against it. A team that actually played the ball around them. They couldn't. There were times during that game where they couldn't get the ball off them. From a purely footballing perspective, if that's what you're into and you're into the passing game and ticky-tacky football, then Spain played them off the park. But what they had was they've got two defenders who put the fear of God into you. I put this on Twitter. I mean, if there's ever a character from The Godfather, then they've got two of them. If you're gonna go swim with the fishes, these two at the back will be the ones who throw you off the bridge. There's no question about that. But age is what's going to do them. I think so. We've got to play the ball around them. We've got to keep that mobility. But that. I fear that, because I saw aspects of England on Wednesday night where the defence suddenly looked shaky. That there was a little bit of oh, hang on a minute, what's going on here? Maybe it was nerves, whatever. I don't know. I thought Stones was okay. I thought Maguire lost it a little bit. I thought.
Was it not the midfield, Steve? Because I really enjoyed I've enjoyed watching Phillips throughout the tournament. I thought that was his worst game, but I don't think the system suited him.
I thought it was probably his worst 90 minutes, but I thought in the next 30 he had one of his better games. He had a better game. Better in the last 30, and that's because he seemed to get another edge of speed, but he also had. He had Henderson playing alongside him, who was like the calming influence, but also let him go. So he was then able to go and win the ball. He was able to go and chase the ball, and he was able to close down. He wasn't managing that when he had Rice, who was sitting literally protecting the back two, back three, back four. I thought Walker was better in extra time as well. I thought Walker, he's covering and everything. I thought he had a really, really good game. I thought Shaw didn't have a very good game, to be perfectly honest. I thought that when we eventually went 5 with Trippier on, yes, that helped, and that helped the mobility. Yes, I did pick Italy very, very right at the start because of the history and because of where they were and where they'd come from, and I like Mancini and such like. I still think we've got enough to beat them because I think tactically with the people that we've got in the backroom staff, and I think that the edge of having the fans behind them, and it's not going to be the partisan crowd that people are imagining. It's not the partisan crowd that we had in midweek where we outnumbered them by probably 4, 5, 6 to 1. I think, well, Toon Tips will tell us probably how many there were. I don't know, but I think it's going to be a really good game, and I'm hoping it's one of these to and fro, up and down, exciting 90-minute battles. Because if that's the way that it plays, I think that's what we've got. If we try to play it slow, I think the Italians will just pick us off and pick us off and pick us off. So. They're going to press you, but I think we can counteract that by pressing them. That's the way I'm looking at it. That's why I'm going for 2-1, and I think it could be over in 90 minutes.
Gary Anderson is another lookalike for Joe. You're getting it in the neck of people. Tim Cairns has sent that on Twitter. He hasn't said. I'm sure we'll have a load of these next week now. It'll take the pressure off Steve.
Yeah, I might grow me. Yeah. I think one of the interesting things that Steve that I noticed in the comments there, lads, was the bit about Jordan Pickford, and I think in the last 2 games, but particularly in the last match, he looked like he was starting to revert the type. His distribution was poor, his decisions were poor. Yes, he pulled a reasonable save off, but it worries me that the bigger the game, look what happens when he comes to St. James. It just falls apart.
He looked rattled, didn't he?
He looked rattled.
He looked rattled.
Yeah, it was interesting. It was an interesting one. What about Sean? We'd like to try and get as many questions in as we can. I'll come back to you with your question, Sean, because as always, Julie is waiting in anticipation for the cat. Chock-a-block this week. I could have a whole show on this. To be honest, because of its unoriginal tone, this really comes into third place. Because it's, everybody really says this whenever I appear on TV, and to be honest, it could be aimed at Keith Patterson as well, because me and him both did this. On Monday with Rachel Sweeney from GB News, big shout out to her. Why does that baldy prick have to get his shiny buns on any and everything to do with Newcastle whenever there's a camera about? Thinks he's a spokesperson for the fans. Thanks, Jack.
I wrote that about Keith Patterson.
Did you? Oh, well, fantastic. Good stuff.
Been a baldy prick.
Yeah. Big shout out as well to Rachel. She was great. And you couldn't have scripted this. We ended up bumping into two people from Saudi Arabia who were on holiday in Newcastle. So big thank you to Rachel. Give GB News a follow and give Rachel Sweeney a follow on Twitter. Look, it's a new news station. They're trying their best. And to be honest, they're the first major news station that's actually come out and done anything and actually allowed us to speak about this rather than forcing the narrative. So well done to them. Okay, this one from James Hall. He never turned up, but he said, tell your mate Wraith I'll be seeing him for a talk on his doorstep tonight. Okay, cheers. His sat-nav must have got broken. Not sure what James's problem is. I blocked him straight away, and then he spent the rest of the day sending messages to people and sending them to me. James is a queue. Paddy Conroy's probably ahead of you. So to be honest, there'll be a queue out. There'll be a queue out the street. It'll be easy to find my door, but yeah. Don't come to me door, James. It's not very big and it's not very clever making threats like that. And other people might report that to the police. I certainly won't, but other people might. The winner is, for originality, Toon Tom Surtees, the guy in charge of Protest NUFC, the protest and the flyover. We owe Wraithy an apology. It's definitely not him. Quite not trolling. I thought that was quite funny. Great design and certainly looks, I look the part there. But that is Troll of the Week. Keep them coming in as well. If I miss them and you see anybody trolling us, send us them because I do miss some of the good ones. Couple of things I want to squeeze in before the end of the show. Shambles Travel back on the road, and yes, that is an original photograph from Shambles Travel. Doncaster versus Newcastle, Friday the 23rd of July. Away fans are allowed in, and I will be going to Doncaster. I'm sure many of you out there will be as well. Cannot wait to get back on the road with the Black and White Army. Book now, 077 17779. Shambles Travel, a great way to travel. Amanda never lets us down. She's had some great trips over the years of which I've been a part of, and Shambles Travel back taking bookings. Give her a ring on that number, get yourself booked on, and let's get back on the road with Newcastle United. Do want to give a big shout out to
Joe, by the way. Did you hear that, Joe? It's another pre-record. He's gone to the match. It's another pre-record. Sorry about that, mate.
Selfish, Steve.
We might have to move it to a Thursday. Big shout out to Kenneth as well, who purchased a Newcastle Consortium T-shirt. He loves it, and big thank you to you. And somebody else repping the brand is Marty, NUFC Eisted, who bought one of the shirts that you can see Keith wearing. And of course, those shirts are available on our website, NUFCmatters.com, and quite a lot of new stuff on there as well. Big thank you to John for that. You can also get your Fab 4 t-shirts, although with Joe's debut in proper terms tonight, we might have to think of something with 5. It might have to be the famous 5. Who knows? But there you are, NUFCmatters.com. Please visit that and get yourself on there. Just a big shout out as well to Fire and Skill on Twitter, who sent us this last week. Apologies, mate. NUFC. Okay. Any of you who remember Cliffy Ahmed, who used to go on a lot of the away games, that was the kind of thing he used to send in letters to me on a regular basis and other fanzine editors on bus tickets, toilet rolls. We used to get envelopes full of that kind of stuff. The reason he's doing that is when he was trimming his garden, he's put it on his legs. So thanks for that, Fire and Skill. I do get some rather bizarre stuff from him. He did ask a fantastic question for Pat Nevin, which goes live tomorrow, though. So I'm looking forward.
He's a good lad as well. He's a good lad.
Oh, yes, he's fantastic. Been sent this late as well, Claire Casey. Messingham News Forum. Yes, England have won, but can people have some respect? That is not appropriate to have fireworks going off at 10:45 p.m. when kids are in bed and also people's cats. My cat is out, and you get some idiot letting fireworks off. Becca Armstrong's thing was, "Fuck your cat, it's coming home," which I thought was quite funny. And this message really, little Steve clearly not understanding what the trust is, or maybe his dummy has come out because they spoke to Staveley after she ghosted him. So a lot of people asking about Mirdad's message earlier on. Well, here it is.
Just a quick thank you to all the fans for all your support. Amanda and I are truly grateful for everything that you've done and everything you continue to do for the club, for us, and to get this takeover over the line. We really appreciate it. To the fans that are traveling down to London on the 16th, thank you so much. Every piece of effort makes a huge difference. So thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We are truly grateful.
Let's finish on that, Mitch. We've heard from Amanda, and now we personally have heard from Mirdad today, and we're giving him a platform to get that message out. We'll be sharing that, of course, with the protest group that came in just before we went on air this evening. Your view on Amanda and Mirdad's passion?
Well, like I said, it would be the start of the show, really. If anybody wants to know why our glasses are constantly half full, there's a big clue in that. And when you hear people who are that passionate and that positive, it's hard not to be inspired by them. It's hard not to want to back them to the hilt, to push everything through and do everything that you physically can. And I think as a group of mates doing stuff, I think we've done absolutely everything we physically can and more. And to hear from them this week, I think, was critical. Absolutely critical. I think that was the message the fans needed, and they probably needed it for a little while. But if anybody doubts that the desire isn't there, if anybody doubts that everything has been and remains very live and very possible right now, this should eliminate those doubts. And so now, as a fan base, it's up to us to help them as much as we can, to put the pressure on, to get clarity, to get transparency, and to be allowed to be taken out of the limbo that we've been forced into as part of power games within football that we then, as a fan base, have almost been ridiculed and made fun of, and been told that we're the legal and moral arbiters of football and sports washing and more, when we just want to see our club, and as a result of the infrastructure and investment that would come with it, our region benefit for the long term going forward. That's just it's what we need right now. Is we need some of that positivity poured into the fan base as a whole, and that's what I feel that these messages are doing right now.
Keith, you've spent a long time chatting backwards and forwards to the seller. That must really give the seller a boost. And we know that they've been in communication. That's how the deal was done. That must give them a bit of a boost.
They made it clear to me as late as 11 o'clock last night that this is the deal they want to do. And what they're saying is anything our fan base can do to get this to be a public matter will win the arbitration. And, there's a lot of people say, oh, well, we'll take another deal. The sellers only want this deal. It's the only deal they want to do. And when you see Amanda Staveley come on there, you see Mirdad come on, you couldn't want anybody better to run this football club. The job Jamie Rubin's done at QPR, he's got a lot of credibility in football. And the Rubins have grown their business more than anybody through COVID. So now's the time. It's not 6 months' time. It's not a year's time. Now is the time for Newcastle United, for the fans, just to do anything you physically can, not to be boisterous or work your ticket, to actually go and press professionally Dowden and Boris Johnson to get this to be a public matter at arbitration. Because if you do, Justin Barnes, Mike Ashley are saying we will get this takeover.
Joe, you've been, watching our shows since they started. So you've been in a slightly different position. You've been one of the regulars in the chats. You've now joined the team, which is great. But what's your view on the statements that they've come out and made?
I think this week for me, Steve, I think there's a couple of things. I think one, it removes all doubt, and I think there are people out there who wonder if this was still on the table, if it was still a thing. I think that's been cleared up beyond any reasonable doubt now that Amanda means business, and she has done for not just months, we're talking years now. And I think the biggest thing that I picked up on was this talk about not only investing in Newcastle United and Newcastle City Centre, but actually about the northeast of England, the infrastructure, the jobs, the development. So, for someone who was born and bred in Middlesbrough, to hear her talk about this is about the northeast. I have spent time in Manchester, and just to see what's happened in Manchester since the City takeover, to think that could be coming to our region is absolutely outstanding. So for me, there is only one deal, as the lads have said, and if we can do anything to get that over the line, we've got to.
Steve Hasty?
Yeah, I think the lads have said it all, haven't they? I mean, you just listen to the passion. You just listen to what Mirdad said. We've preached it from the rooftops for 12 months now. We've kept faith. We've stuck together. Why have we stuck together? Because we could see it. We could see what was coming. We could see what was available. We could see what the opportunities were. You know what? It's bigger than anything. It's bigger than, and Joe just summed it up there. It's not just the city. It's not just the northeast. It's what it means going forward. It's what it means for the football club going forward. It's what it means for the region going forward. What it means for the young people. What it means for opportunities in work, opportunities in sport, opportunities at grassroots level, because they'll get involved in everything. That's what it's all about. It's a project, to coin Rafa's phrase. These guys have a project that's on a different plane to whatever it can be. It'll take time, but it's totally different to what you've had for the previous 14 years. And if it takes 14 years, so be it. It doesn't really matter. But it's going to be a journey that we should all be getting behind, and we've had the faith. We've been lucky enough to be able to stick together and keep that faith among ourselves and that passion among ourselves going. And that's our half glass that we talked about and we've talked about for so long. Just get behind it. Just stick with it. Let's see where the journey's going to go next. And if the journey comes out the way that we've expected it to be, and the way that we're now hoping the final hurdle is going to be, and where it's going to take us next, then, hey, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be absolutely brilliant. And look back at the previous 14 years and think what the next 14 years could be. And if that doesn't excite you, then nothing ever. Whether it's a pink top, a green top, a red top, a striped top, a horizontal lines across it, it doesn't really matter what the kit is. It doesn't matter anything. It's a journey that you're going to enjoy. It's a journey that we're all going to go on. And we're all going to do it together. We'll do it with the owners together, and that's something we haven't done for a long, long time. That's. I can't say anymore. I kind of lost for words in a way that at times, when it comes to this, because we've sort of embraced this and embedded ourselves in it for so long, and we want what everybody else wants, but we've just stuck with it that little bit longer for a particular reason.
What a journey it's been, and it's not over yet. Let's get on the road, do some work on the road, which is what we've said many times. The internet's great, Twitter's great, Facebook's great at times for getting the word across, but it's a small minority of fans. And going out, getting on those buses, getting on the tube if you live in London, getting in a taxi, whatever, and getting across to Parliament Square next week is vital. And, that it's vital for this takeover that we are there and show what we can do. We saw it with other fans. We don't want any trouble. We don't want any disruption. We just want to go there and make our points very clear. And that is what we are going to do. So please get yourself on the bus if you can. If you live near London, outside London, in London, get yourself over. Give us some support. Get in touch with the London Magpie Group. Get them across. Tickets, though, for the buses leaving at 5 from St James's Park on Friday, NUFCmatters.com. And don't forget, if you want to get along and meet some of the guys, we are at the Tyneside Irish Centre for this Sunday's Euro final between England and Italy. The doors will be open for our lounge upstairs. The NUFC Matters Lounge is the concert room, nice big room for social distancing, table service, of course. Everyone will have a table. Get yourself in there. Come and watch the 1966 World Cup final at 5 o'clock with us, and then watch the England versus Italy final. And come along, have a bit crack. There'll be some of the sponsors there. Some of the guys and girls are going to be there off the show as well. So please come along. No need to email us or contact us. Just get yourself along and try and get there for 4, because seats will be at a premium. And if it does get full, then unfortunately we'll have to turn people away. You'll be able to get in other bars, I gather, in the Irish Centre, but get yourself along and just tell them you've come for the NUFC Matters 1966 World Cup final screening and the game. And don't forget, tomorrow I'll be putting up the Pat Nevin interview. Some people might shrug their shoulders and say, well, that's a little bit different. You know, he's not a Newcastle player. What's his connection? He's got a book out, The Accidental Footballer. It's not his first book, but it's a good book. It's available on Amazon. And Pat didn't want to be a footballer. That's what makes this such an interesting story. He never wanted to be a footballer. Even when he ended up going from Scotland to Chelsea, to Everton, to Tranmere, he didn't want to be a footballer. That's why it's The Accidental Footballer. So great stuff. Get yourself on that tomorrow. I'll be setting that up in the next couple of hours. And just want to say thanks to the lads. Thanks to Mitch. Thanks to Keith. Thanks to Joe. And thanks to Steve. As always, been a cracking show. Great to do it live. And thanks, as always, to everybody in the chat. Over 750 watching tonight. And I know not a lot of you will be playing catch up. But lads, have a good weekend. See some of you on some of you on Sunday. And enjoy your day off on Monday, guys. Take care.
Critics attack. It feels like I've been talking to myself again. But it's the only way you're ever gonna learn. You look back and it's all in the past.